Good afternoon. I thank the organizers for the privilege of the podium. I'm going to be talking about how to obtain the best long-term results from EVAR. I have nothing to disclose. So I'm going to be talking about outcomes of EVAR, its anatomic limitations, and some complex endovascular aortic aneurysm repairs. So this slide shows the summary data of 4 known randomized trials on EVAR versus open surgery. These are the UK EVAR-1 trial, the Dutch DREAM trial, the US OVER trial, and the French ACE trial. This showed that 30-day operative mortality was better for EVAR compared to open surgery. The re-intervention rate, however, is higher for EVAR in the EVAR-1 and the DREAM trial. However, the OVER trial had some controversial results in that the secondary re-intervention rate was not higher. In the long term, there is no difference in the overall mortality of endovascular versus open repair up to 8 years out. And hence we have seen an increasing trend towards endovascular management of aortic aneurysms over the last couple of decades. And as seen before, 70% in 2005 were managed endovascularly, and this number is even higher now. So as we have seen before, there are several prerequisites to EVAR, including neck length, neck diameter, neck angulation, and iliac axis. And we know that using devices outside their IFU leads to worse outcomes, and this paper by Schanzer and colleagues really brought out this issue. They looked at about 10,000 patients who underwent EVAR from 1999 to 2008 in the M2S database, and the goals of their study was to examine the compliance with IFU, to examine change in time with the IFUs, and to determine the relationship between aortoiliac anatomy and sac enlargement over time. This table shows that IFUs change over time, as well as there's different IFUs for the different devices. So they divided patients based on the literature into a conservative group, a liberal IFU group, and time-dependent IFU group. They found in their study that about a third of patients, even in the liberal IFU group, were treated outside of IFU. And for the conservative group, it was more than 60%, and for the time-dependent IFU, it was about 40%. This table shows the baseline anatomic characteristics of patients that we are treating over time with EVAR. And in the last decade, we have been treating older patients and patients with larger diameter necks, more conical and angulated necks. At 5 years, they found that 41% of patients developed aortic sac enlargement, and the incidence of sac enlargement was significantly higher in patients who are treated outside of IFU. On multivariate analysis, the single highest predictor of sac enlargement was endoleak on the postoperative CT scan, and the other predictors are shown in the slide. Another recent study from 2016 reviewed over 700 articles from PubMed and included 49 articles from the literature on aortic sac enlargement after EVAR. They show that the incidence is between 0.2 to 41%, so a wide range. The time of onset can be anywhere from 10 months to very late after 5 years. And enlargement of the sac can occur even if initially the aortic sac shrinks on the follow-up CT scans. And hence this really stresses the importance of lifelong follow-up after EVAR. Type 1 and type 3 endoleaks always need re-intervention, like we heard, and type 2 endoleaks are controversial. But in general, if an aneurysm grows by more than 5 millimeters, then a re-intervention is indicated. As far as endotension, there is some suggestion that aneurysm growth more than 8 or 10 millimeters require re-intervention. So how do we overcome some of the anatomic limitations? There have been several developments over the last decade, and this includes the TriVascular Ovation device, which addresses some of the limitations with the proximal seal, as well as being the lowest profile delivery system in the market today. It's a 14 French device. They have excellent outcomes, as we saw in our previous presentation. This AorFix device is a unique device that is was indicated for severely angulated necks of up to 90 degrees and had a unique design. However, unfortunately, this has been removed from the US market, though it's still available in Europe. The Aptus Helifix endoanchor system consists of anchors that look like the picture in the slide, and they are delivered through a 16 French delivery system. And they are compatible with the Cook, Medtronic, and Gore endografts as shown in this slide, however, not with the Endologix graft. The early results of the endo anchors in the anchor registry showed that it can be used both as a primary device as well as in people with proximal neck complications after previous EVARs. They showed excellent technical success and procedural success. However, there is no long-term data. I know that this device is now being trialed for patients who have necks that are very short, from 4 to 10 millimeters, and using endo anchors primarily for the procedure. Addressing small access vessels can be with open techniques or endovascular techniques, and there are several techniques to overcome access for delivery of the device. And then when aneurysm repairs become complex, the options are open repair in patients who are fit for surgery, but in patients who are unfit for surgery, we have other options like the fenestrated stent grafts, which have shown excellent short-term results and excellent perioperative mortality as well as renal complication rate, but the longer-term follow-up data is still pending. The Cook Zenith ZFEN device is a commercially available device, and it consists of various configurations and can be used to treat neck anatomy that is as short as 4 millimeters below the renal artery. This is a picture of the T-branch device, which is a multi-branch endovascular aneurysm repair device, and this can be used to treat thoracoabdominal as well as paravisceral aneurysms, and hence really expands the endovascular treatment options for these patients. However, there is limited availability in the US, and it's only available at limited centers through IDEs. This is the P-branch device, which expands treatment options to a neck length of 4 millimeters below the SMA. And this device is still in trials, but when it becomes commercially available, will enable us to expand our treatment options to pararenal aneurysms. The Iliac branch device is a device that was recently approved by the FDA last year and has shown excellent short-term outcomes for treatment of iliac artery aneurysms. And finally, the TAMBI device is based on the Gore excluder platform, and this device is going to be an off-the-shelf device that can be used to treat thoracoabdominal and paravisceral aneurysms, along with a specific stent graft, the Gore Viabahn VBX. And this is really being trialed in some feasibility trials right now, and we'll see the results shortly. So, in conclusion, I want to stress that when we use EVAR, when we use grafts for treatment of EVAR, we need to stay within the IFU, and if we want to expand our endovascular treatment options, we need to look at some of the other newly coming up devices. Thank you.
Any questions? Have you had any experience with the lumbar device?
No, because I think it was actually removed off the market about 6 months or a year ago. So unfortunately, I didn't actually ever get to use it. But my understanding, it's a completely different sealing mechanism. It has a fish mouth which accommodates the renal arteries, and it has a self-expanding nitinol stent system that is continuous and allows more angulated neck delivery. Yeah, it was not based on any adverse events. It was based on the economics of the company.
What you gave us was that 90-degree
yeah.
system, 90-degree provide. Is that a controllable core?
Right. Right. Yeah, they're a little delayed, I think, in production. They wanted to be out for a couple of years now. Yeah.